We are back with part 4 of Dubai Relocation Manenos, my first flight and my first steps abroad. Hey everyone, welcome back to my relocation story. In the last post, I talked about the intense but rewarding process of getting hired by Emirates Group and preparing to move to Dubai. Now let me take you on the next leg of this incredible journey, my first ever flight abroad and the challenges I faced when I arrived. And I did not tell you that after they sent me the visa, they also sent me a one-way ticket. The ticket was Emirates flight. I can't remember the flight number, but I remember looking at the ticket and saying, wow, so me, I'm now relocating. It was a lot of emotions going through. It was a lot. Now I think I will divide this into maybe 3. One is taking to the skies for the first time. Second is touching down in Dubai, and third is the challenges of a new beginning. And maybe some nuggets of people who are planning to relocate internationally, especially from Dubai, from Nairobi, Kenya to Dubai, because Nairobi or Kenya is my home country. So I'll talk about only things that apply to Kenyans most of the time, even though some are internationally, but relocating from Kenya to Dubai is what I would like to talk about most. But other international people can also listen because it doesn't change anyway. It's only geographically it's changing because of the location, but the information is the same. It's important for everybody. So taking to the skies for the first time. The flight was Emirates, of course, and let me tell you, it was an experience like no other. As someone who had never been outside Kenya, I was both excited and nervous. I remember stepping into the airplane. And before we even do that, I remember I was escorted to the airport with my spouse, my 3 kids, my mother-in-law, my mom, birth mother, my sisters-in-law, my sisters. It was 3 cars that escorted me to the airport. And because it was our first time, they said boarding opens at 8. So my flight was around 23:55 hours. That is like 11:55 p.m. I'm using the 24 and the 12-hour clock. I'm used to the 24-hour clock actually because we are in aviation. So my flight was 11:55 p.m. Kenyan time or East African time. Nairobi or Kenya is behind Dubai by only 1 hour. That's the difference. Dubai is ahead of the GMT by 4 hours. So you can calculate. So that our flight was leaving here, Nairobi, at 11:55 p.m. So because this was my first time, they had said that we have to be at the airport, check in by 8. So by 8, exactly 8 hours there. Imagine, I didn't even say goodbye. I didn't even hug my children. Because once I entered, I didn't know that they would not allow me to get out. That time I was fearing. But nowadays, oh my God, I go to the airport, I come out. Anytime I want, I go in, I check in, I come out. That first flight, it taught me a lot of things. Once I entered, I never came out even to say bye. I just called these people that have already checked in and I'm going. And I was told that my children really cried. My husband also cried. All the people there cried and said, wow, Joy is going, and she didn't even say bye. Because when I was alighting from the taxis that had taken us to the airport, I had dragged my suitcase to the entry point. I entered with the suitcase and said, I'm coming back. I never came back. Can you imagine? So my kids tell me these days that how they cried, how the next day they were supposed to go to school and they didn't have the guts to go to school. They were feeling so down. They were young. They were below 10 years. They were young. The small one, I think, was 4 years. I can't remember. No, not that I can't remember, but that is the story. They were young. And they were not prepared for this separation. They were not prepared. We had not had those conversations of how mommy will be going to Dubai and she will not be there the next day to wake you up so that she can prepare you to go to school. We never had those conversations. If I would return the clock to that day, I'll make sure I prepare them every single day, telling them that I will not be available, someone else will be taking care of them. I would have done that, but I didn't do that because I thought they're kids, and I also thought that once I get into the the check-in, I'll finish and then come out and say goodbyes. But I didn't get that time. And that time, because I was new there, I didn't go out. So they cried. That's what I was told. So after check-in, we went through the immigration. Even at the check-in, I found some people that we were traveling with. That's how I came to know we were so many people traveling, but I was the only lady. Out of those, I think we traveled with 15 or 16. What is 15? Either 15, 16, 17 men. Out of those, I was the only lady. And I didn't tell you that in that interview, I was the only lady who was taken. The rest of the men who were more than 50 were men. The lady was only me. And so everybody knew that there was this lady who was coming to Dubai because the first batch already went. Out of the people we did the interview with, the first batch already arrived in Dubai in January. They already were settled and now working. Their documents already processed for the airport pass, all these things, IDs, all those things, they are already processed. So we were the second batch, and there was another third batch. So in this batch, that's when I met people there that we were going with, that were employed as me. We are going to start a new life in Dubai. So that's how we started, networking and knowing each other before we even reached in Dubai. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So as I mentioned, I traveled with a group of employees. All of us were bubbling with mixed emotions because some had left families, some were single. I can't remember if there was anybody single or married. I don't remember. Some were seasonal travelers. But for us, someone like me, this was my first time. The flight felt like a glimpse of the new life ahead. And I kept thinking, is this really happening? Am I really leaving my home to start a new chapter abroad? I was sitting with a guy also who was joining the same company. I had a window seat, and it was breathtaking. Seeing the clouds below and the vast expanse of land and water made me realize how big the world is. It was overwhelming, but in the best way possible. That time, I was filled with emotions. I was filled with a lot of emotions. Nobody understood, but I understood it better. And it made me stronger. Just taking that leap of faith, boarding that flight, alone, going to a foreign country because I never knew what awaited me on the other side. So if you're relocating, don't be scared. Have faith that if you are a believer, God cannot give you something that you cannot handle. So that was me. Now, touching down in Dubai. We landed in Dubai to the warm glow of city lights and the hum of the world's busiest airports. By that time, Dubai was a bit cold. Not that hot as it is, but it was a bit cold. I stepped out of the plane and it hit me. I was no longer in Nairobi, Kenya, the comfort of my zone. Everything felt so new, so different. The air was cold and the city skyline was like something out of a movie. But as exciting as it was, the reality of being in a foreign country also began to sink in. Actually, when we alighted around 5. We got someone with our names, placards, put on our names to follow. So we already transportation to our hotels were already arranged by this company, Emirates Group. We didn't do anything. They arranged for pickup and drop off at where we were staying for 2 weeks. They also arranged for us advance cash to help us look for accommodation, assimilate into Dubai, seamless without having any issues. So the money I came with, I stayed with it because the next day we went to the office and there was a lot of catching up with the person who was coordinating with us while we were in Kenya, introductions, knowing each other, building rapport with other people who had been recruited from different countries. And that's when we are asked if you want advance of accommodation, so that you take your advance of 6 months, pay off whatever you were supposed to be paying. We had a lot of money, my friends, and it was easy. I didn't have any difficulties relocating. I can't say I had any financial difficulty relocating. I can't say I had any problem relocating. The only problem that I had maybe was accommodation, which I'll talk about in a different video. So now, part 3 of this is challenges of a new beginning. Relocating isn't all glamour. It comes with its fair share of challenges. Here's what stood out for me during those few days and weeks that followed. Homesick. My friend, the following day I was waking up from, and I'm thinking, oh my God, so I'm not going to see my kids, I'm not going to see my spouse, I'm not going to see my mom, I'm not going to see my sister. This was my first time being away from my family, friends, and everything familiar. Even though I was surrounded by new colleagues, I felt a deep sense of longing for home. And I couldn't tell anybody. Because I wanted to be that strong person that, yes, I'm okay. I called them. In fact, we landed and then I slept. We had a welcome note there with some food, breakfast, It was seamless. Now, I called home and I said I landed well. They were so happy. Okay? Number 2, culture shock. Dubai is a melting of cultures, but it was still a lot to take in. The fast-paced lifestyle, the towering skyscrapers, and the blend of tradition and modern customs, it was overwhelming for me at first. Number 3, language barriers. I will talk about that in a different video because it's a whole new vibe. While English is widely spoken in Dubai, I encountered people from all over the world whose accents or ways of speaking were unfamiliar to me. Communicating effectively took some adjusting. Number 4, adjusting to the climate. Even though that time you arrived there was cold. Coming from Kenya's mild weather, the heat in Dubai in the months of April to September was on a whole new level. Stepping outside felt like walking into an oven, and I quickly learned to always stay hydrated and avoid direct sunlight. Number 5, navigating a new system. Everything from transportation to shopping to banking was different. Even simple tasks like using the metro or finding the nearest grocery felt like small challenges in the beginning because of the communication barrier. Setting into work. Starting a new job is challenging on its own, but doing so in a foreign country added another layer. I had to quickly learn the company's culture, expectations, and how to fit into a diverse team, which wasn't hard. That part was a bit easy,